Number 15, a frozen maiden. One of the strangest and scariest discoveries found frozen in ice holds an innocent title, the Maiden. You may be thinking, well, that's not so scary, but think again. This Incan mummy is the thing nightmares are made of. The well-preserved mummy was found alongside two young child mummies, 22,000 feet above sea level, on the slopes of a volcano. Although it was 1999, nearly 500 years after she died, the maiden still had lice in her hair. All three were preserved in the icy mountain, completely ready to rise from the dead. Johann Reinhard, an American archaeologist and member of the expedition that discovered the three mummies, said, "The doctors have been shaking their heads and saying they sure don't look 500 years old, but as if they died a few weeks ago, and a chill went down my spine the first time I saw her hands because they look like those of a person who is alive." The history of this poor maiden is devastating enough to make you sympathetic to her plight. Even if she's a bit of a Frankenstein monster, she was likely suffering from tuberculosis or a similar bacterial infection when her people decided it was best to sacrifice her to the Yoyayeco volcano in Argentina. How do archaeologists know this? They swabbed the ancient patient's lips and compared it to living pathogens. One of the archaeologists, Korthals, said of the method, "Our technique opens a new door to solving some of history's biggest mysteries. It will also enhance our understanding of our future greatest threats, such as the emergence of new infectious agents or re-emergence of known infectious diseases." Amongst the bodies was a grand collection of silver and gold, textiles, statues, pots with food in them, and a feathered headdress, suggesting that the trio were sacrificed, not to appease the gods, but to enter the realm of the gods and live in paradise alongside them, despite being killed before their time. The three sacrificed mummies are now presumably enjoying an afterlife that's markedly better than the disease-infested life they experienced on Earth. Here's hoping anyway. Number 14, Everest markers. Imagine climbing up the highest mountain in the world and being visually reminded every so often that you might die doing it. Reminded by the dead bodies that came before you and did in fact fail at reaching the summit, or at least making it out alive. This is the real deal. Each year, everyone from the most seasoned of mountaineers to those who are taking their first go at the mountain pays thousands of dollars to climb Everest, only to be reminded constantly of their imminent death. And often people do die in the attempt. 240 climbers have perished, and many of their bodies color the mountain, their bright winter gear frozen in the ice. The most vividly scary and deadly section is called Rainbow Valley for this very reason. The colorful gear from the dozens of dead bodies of previous climbers. These markers on Everest remind climbers that although the climb doesn't seem terrible, the altitude and potential for storm can be fatal, as it has turned for whole groups in past years. The lack of oxygen and exhaustion that high up can take your life. This place is called the death zone for a reason. Why aren't the bodies removed from the mountains? Because getting up and down the mountain carrying only yourself is strenuous enough. Climbing up and down Everest while carrying another human being will likely leave you yet another victim. And so the dead remain. Number 13, a frozen mammoth. The friendly Russian woolly mammoth calf, Luba, is a real charmer, so perhaps you won't find this 41,800-year-old mammoth particularly scary, but imagine if you met her in real life. The discovery of Luba in May 2007 was completely accidental. The woolly mammoth was found not by scientists, but by a reindeer hunter and breeder named Yuri Kudi, along with his sons. They were out on the Arctic Yamal Peninsula in Russia when they came across the enormous mammoth carcass near Uribe River. Kudi knew it was a significant discovery, so he traveled 150 miles to seek advice from a friend who, in turn, told him to contact the local museum director. Kudi then tracked the authorities back to the Uribe River, only to find the carcass had vanished. It turns out that Kudi's cousin decided to profit off the find by selling it to a store owner who lived in Novi Port, a settlement close by. In return, the cousin received 2 snowmobiles. Quite a terrible exchange for the priceless mammoth remains. What's worse is that dogs had chewed parts of Luba's body in the moving process, damaging it. But once examined, the calf was found to have been preserved incredibly well, with its trunk, eyes, organs, skin, and even some of its fur intact. Milk from the calf's mother was even found in Luba's stomach. The discovery, quite simply, was incredible. The police in Kudi returned the remains to the Szymanowski Museum by helicopter, where it was named Luba in honor of Kudi's wife. Don't know about you, but I wouldn't want anything with the words woolly or mammoth in its title named after me or my loved one, but hey, to each its own.